the sound of wind howling through hollow windows. Gravel's End was never found again. Not by map, not by map, not by memory. Only one man walked out, barefoot, his skin burned by something that wasn't fire. They said he mumbled about a stone that breathed, about tunnels that shifted when no one watched. What if an object could dream, and you were inside it? What if it didn't want to wake up? The night the miners brought that stone to the surface, the town's clocks stopped, and so did the sky. They say the fog hasn't lifted since. Somewhere beneath those mountains, something still beats, slow, patient, waiting for another touch, the kind that remembers. The next morning, the town awoke to silence. No birds, no wind, just the faint hum of the earth beneath their feet. Jacob Lyle never came home. Some said he wandered into the woods. Others whispered that he was still in the mine, listening. When the mayor sent a team down to find him, they came back pale and shaking. They said the tunnels didn't look the same, that new passages had formed overnight. One of them refused to speak again. That was the first day the fog didn't lift. The town's pastor tried to bless the stone, but the moment he opened his mouth, the candles went out. Some say they heard whispers in the dark, like wind through teeth. The mayor ordered the mine sealed, but the fog spread through the streets that night. Doors swelled shut. The air grew heavier, damp, and sweet, like something rotting beneath the ground. Eli Warren began hearing the hum in his teeth. It followed him everywhere. In the water pipes, in the ticking of clocks, even in his heartbeat. He started writing down patterns in the sound, claiming it was trying to tell him something. That was when the walls began to move. That night he dreamed of a door made of stone, breathing, opening to a heartbeat deep below. When he woke, his window was open, and his footprints led back toward the mine. The town's last photograph was taken at dawn. It showed the fog folding over the rooftops like a tide. After that, Gravel's End was gone. When the fog came to stay, the people of Gravel's End stopped talking about rescue. Radios hissed only static, and the road out of town looped back to the same cracked bridge. The mayor tried to keep order, but fear is a quiet contagion. It spreads between glances in the rhythm of footsteps that sound too many for the space they occupy. Eli Warren still heard the hum, louder now, pulsing in time with his breath. He wrote one sentence over and over. It's not in the mine anymore. That afternoon, the miners who sealed the tunnels didn't return home. By dusk, the sound of hammers faded underground. Their tools were found stacked neatly at the mine entrance, handles warm to the touch. Eli claimed he saw shapes in the fog, men without eyes, walking in rhythm. He told the mayor the stone was calling them back. The mayor told him to pray instead. Clara Hensley arrived the next day, a journalist tracing reports of the sleeping town. She expected a ghost story, not a living one. Her car died at the bridge, and she walked the rest of the way. She found streets intact but hollow, houses half open as if someone had stepped out only moments ago. She found Eli sitting in the diner, whispering to his reflection. Clara questioned Eli for hours. He told her the stone wasn't from this world, that it wanted to remember through them. He said each time it was touched, it learned. She asked what it learned from him. He smiled, trembling, and said, "How to dream." The recording stopped soon after. When Clara replayed it, she heard another voice answering his. That night, Clara dreamed she was underground, walking through tunnels that pulsed with faint light. Voices whispered her name in rhythm with her heartbeat. When she awoke, her hands were covered in black dust. Outside her window, she saw faint lights moving beneath the fog, like lanterns, but deeper, too deep. The hum had found her too. By morning, the fog was heavier, pressing down like a living thing. Clara followed Eli back toward the mine, her recorder still running. He said it wasn't just a stone anymore. It was growing, shaping tunnels in its image. The mine had become a heart, beating slow, patient, ancient. Every few minutes, she thought she heard whispers behind them, repeating what they said a second too late. The air was damp with a metallic taste. Something deep inside was calling them closer. The tunnels weren't as Eli remembered. New corridors split where there were none, and some paths simply ended in smooth, seamless walls. Clara marked turns with chalk, but when they looked back, the marks had shifted. She whispered that maybe the mine wasn't a place anymore. Maybe it was alive. Eli didn't answer. His pupils had begun to dilate and contract with every pulse from the walls. Hours passed, though time felt fractured. Their lanterns dimmed to a trembling orange. Eli stopped and touched the wall. It pulsed back, soft under his palm. Clara wanted to run, but her body wouldn't move. Then she saw it. The same black stone, larger now, fused into the tunnel's heart. Its surface shifted like breathing skin, veins glowing from within. Eli smiled like a man seeing home again. When Eli touched it, the mine exhaled. A gust of air knocked Clara to her knees, her ears filling with the low hum now screaming through her bones. The stone glowed brighter until it seemed to breathe light. Then she heard hundreds of voices whispering her name. Some from ahead, others from behind. The cave floor rippled like water, and Eli was gone. When the light faded, only Clara remained. The tunnels were silent again, but different, too clean, too smooth, as if something had scraped them bare. Her recorder still worked, though her own voice sounded strange when she played it back, drawn out, echoing endlessly. Somewhere deep inside the static, Eli whispered, "It's awake now." Clara stumbled out of the mine at dawn, but the town didn't look the same. Streets curved where they hadn't before. Houses leaned closer together, their windows blind and empty. Every sound she made echoed a half-second late, like the town itself was repeating her. The fog was thicker, humming with that same rhythm from underground. Gravel's end was still here, but it wasn't hers anymore. She tried knocking on doors, calling names, but every echo came back, distorted. Inside one home, dinner plates were still set on the table, food untouched, candles burned to pools of wax. She found an open journal on a counter with only one line written, "We belong to the hum." She took the page with shaking hands, realizing every letter pulsed faintly, like veins under skin. As night fell again, lights began to appear inside the houses. She saw silhouettes moving behind curtains. People she recognized, faces of those who had vanished days ago. They moved in slow rhythm, repeating the same gestures over and over, as though trapped in memory. Clara pressed her face to the glass and whispered their names. They all turned at once and smiled, though their mouths didn't move. Clara ran to the church, the only place that still stood unbroken. Inside, the air smelled of iron and dust. On the altar lay the black stone, smaller now, glowing softly like a coal. She realized it wasn't the same one. It was new, reborn from the town itself. The church bells began to ring without anyone touching them, slow and heavy, as if marking the pulse of something beneath the floorboards. The bells stopped. A sudden silence filled the church, thick and alive. The ground beneath her trembled once, twice, then the hum returned, deeper, slower. She pressed her hands to her ears, but it came from inside her head. The last thing she saw before collapsing was her reflection in the stone's surface. It wasn't her anymore. It was smiling. When Clara woke, the sun was out. The fog had lifted for the first time since she arrived. The town looked ordinary again, quiet, still, and dead. But she could feel it, humming beneath her skin. Every house was empty now, yet she felt watched from all directions. Her recorder was missing, replaced by a smooth black pebble in her pocket that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. She told herself it wasn't the same stone, but deep down she knew it was a piece of it. Still breathing, she drove until the road gave way to forest, but the mountains always found her again. Each turn led back to the same bridge. Its surface cracked, the same bird frozen mid-song above the rail. Time wasn't moving right anymore. The sun stayed still. When she stopped to rest, she realized her reflection in the rearview mirror blinked slower than she did. She whispered to it, and it whispered back. At sunset, she returned to the mine. The entrance was gone, replaced by smooth stone that reflected the dying light like glass. She placed her hand on it and felt warmth, a steady pulse like a living vein. She asked the question she had been holding since the beginning. "What do you want from us?" The stone pulsed once. Then, from inside the rock, a voice whispered, "To remember." Clara pressed her ear against the rock. She could hear voices, hundreds of them, murmuring softly like waves. Names, prayers, laughter, all repeating her own words seconds later. The mine was gone, but the people were inside it, living on in echoes. She realized the stone hadn't destroyed them. It had absorbed them. The town hadn't vanished. It had become memory carved into the mountain's skin. She stayed there until dark. When she finally turned away, the hum followed her, faint but constant. She would leave Gravel's End, but Gravel's End would never leave her. In every silence, every reflection, every hum of distant power lines, she'd hear them whispering her name. The town had given her its last gift, memory that would never fade. And through her, it would dream again. Clara drove for 3 days without stopping. Every mile of highway looked the same. Same cracked asphalt. Same dead trees. Same billboard peeling in the same place. No signs, no birds, no sound but the engine's low growl and that faint hum beneath it. Sometimes she'd pass an abandoned gas station, but when she looked in the rearview mirror, it was gone. The world was thinning around her, folding in on itself like memory, replaying the same loop. She found a payphone by the road. It shouldn't have worked, but the line buzzed alive. A voice answered, her own, distorted, older. It told her to stop running, that the road didn't lead anywhere. The voice said, "You're not leaving. You're remembering." Then the line went dead, replaced by a low heartbeat echoing through the receiver. When she hung up, the phone was gone. That night, she pulled over and fell asleep in the car. She dreamed she was standing in the center of Gravel's End again, the fog folding inward like slow waves. But this time, the townsfolk were there, silent, smiling, waiting. They each held a small black stone, pulsing in unison. When she reached out to touch one, her hands turned transparent. The hum grew louder until it became her heartbeat. She awoke at dawn, the car empty, but humming softly. The world outside was brighter now, too bright as if the sky had been scrubbed clean. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Every reflection, her rearview mirror, the windshield, even the chrome of the dashboard, showed someone sitting beside her. The shape was faint but constant, watching. When she turned her head, no one was there. She finally stopped at a crossroads that didn't exist on any map. 4 roads stretched in 4 directions, each leading into fog. At the center stood a single signpost, all arrows pointing back to Gravel's End. The hum filled the air again, slow and steady. Clara laughed until she cried, realizing she had never left. Maybe no one ever did. Maybe the road itself was the town, endless, remembering every step. Days blurred. Clara stopped counting them. The hum became her heartbeat, the fog, her breath. She began to remember things she never lived. Children laughing in the square, miners singing beneath lanterns, church bells echoing at dusk. Gravel's End was returning piece by piece through her. Every memory felt warm at first, then heavy, as if it carried weight. She realized she wasn't surviving the town. She was becoming it. At sunset, she reached a lake she didn't remember on any map. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the mountains like a mirror. When she looked down, her reflection blinked a moment too late again, but this time it smiled, slow and knowing. She whispered, "I remember you." The reflection nodded. The sky rippled as if the world itself had taken a breath. She stepped into the lake, the water strangely warm. Each ripple shimmered with faint red veins of light, spreading outward like the heartbeat of the mine. Voices rose from below, familiar ones calling her name, soft, pleading, grateful. She realized the town wasn't gone, just waiting for someone to listen. Gravel's End had never needed saving. It only needed to be remembered. As night fell, she disappeared beneath the surface. The water stilled again and the fog rolled inward from the mountains. By dawn, the lake had turned black and glassy. Travelers passing through would say they heard faint voices when the wind was quiet. Whispers carried through the mist. They'd find no town on any map, only a hollow valley and a feeling that something was listening. Years later, hikers would find an old tape recorder buried in the mud near the lake. When they pressed play, a woman's voice whispered, "Can a place remember every scream it's ever heard?" Then the hum began again, soft at first, then louder, shaking the trees, trembling the air as if something beneath the earth had started dreaming once more. And for a moment, the fog returned.